Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Kuruvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Mavidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay, let's get right to it. So we have thus far memorized 3 shlokas from the Bhagavad Gita. So these 10 shlokas that we're memorizing, actually 20 in total. After we memorize the first 10 shlokas, we'll see that these 10 shlokas, they deal with dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. The second group of 10 shlokas deal with 4 other categories. We'll deal with those when we get there. But when we get through these first 10 shlokas, these first 10 weeks, essentially, we're at the halfway mark. We'll then begin to use what we've learned thus far to create our own sadhana and begin to develop a commentary on one specific chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, using the information we've thus far studied and categorized according to Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. But let's do a very quick recap of the first 3 verses. So the first verse was a Dharma Shastra verse. Shreyan Swadharma Vigunaha Paradharamat Swanushtitat Swadharme Nidhanam Shreya Paradharamo Bhayavahaha. Krishna says, it is better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though faultily, than another's duties perfectly. Destruction in the course of performing one's own duty is better than engaging in another's duties. But to follow another's path is dangerous. So this is a Dharma Shastra verse. Particularly and specifically, it is about Svadharma. Svadharma is foundational. Of all the dharmas talked about, Varnashram Dharma, Pati Dharma, Stri Dharma, Sadharana Dharma, all the dharmas out there, Swadharma is foundational. If we are not in harmony with our Swadharma, if our life is not in harmony with our Swadharma, it's very difficult for us to make personal progress because there is discord, there is disunity within ourselves. So foundational, Swadharma. The next verse we've studied, memorized. I'm hoping you're all right. Let me know if you're having trouble memorizing these shlokas. Maybe I can have a different class just for shloka memorization if you're having trouble. The second shloka is an Artha Shastra shloka. Niyatam kuru karmatvam karma jayo hya karmanaha sharira yatra pichate naprasidyed akarmanaha. Artha. Artha means the means, the tools necessary to have a successful life. Often equated to money, also any skill, education, all these things are necessary just to physically survive in this world. So in that verse, Krishna says, perform your prescribed duty, for doing so is better than not working. One cannot even maintain one's physical body without work. A key word here is niyata. Niyata means prescribed. Prescribed meaning your swadharma. What is your natural proclivity, inclination? What are you drawn and impelled to do in this life? So you're prescribed to your swadharma. Do that and align that as much as possible with your livelihood. It's not always easy. Sometimes it's not even possible to align our swadharma with our livelihood. If it's not at all possible in any way, shape, or form, it's not a lost cause. Find other avenues to express and live in harmony with your swadharma if you cannot do it with your livelihood. That's not a problem. It doesn't have to be your livelihood. Next verse. Yangyarthat karma nonyatra lokoyam karma pandara tarartham karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. So this work that we're doing, even if it's our swadharma, we're living in perfect harmony with our swadharma, it still causes bondage because it's work in this world. It still creates karma, still creates bondage, still creates attachment, still keeps us in this cycle of samsara, and still keeps us susceptible to the Arishad Dvargas. So Swadharma itself is not enough for moksha. Very important. Essential. It's the beginning, it's the foundation upon which we build or place this ladder, if you will, of progress to moksha. So it is essential. But in and of itself, Swadharma is not enough. It creates karma, it generates karma, and we are still as susceptible to the Arishad Dvargas as not. So those are the first three verses. The first verse, Dharma Shastra. The next two verses are Artha Shastra, dealing with Artha. Now this week, the verse we are going to memorize and explore, we're going into Kama Shastra. So we're going to explore Kama. The verse this week, all of this is already in the WhatsApp chat. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, Kama Esha, Krodha Esha, Raja Guna Samudbhavaha, Mahashano Mahapapma, Vidhyainam Iha Vairinam. This is an answer Krishna gives to a previous question Arjuna had, to a question of Arjuna's. Arjuna asked, why is it we are impelled to do something, even though we know it's not in our personal best interest or even spiritual best interest? Why do we sometimes engage in these things as if pushed in that direction by force? And then Krishna gives this verse to answer that question. It is Kama. So the next 3 weeks, we're going to explore Kama and how Krishna recommends we deal with it, because it is a reality of our life. Let's start with who we are. We are Jivatma. We are the spirit being. I like the quote. I believe he was a French philosopher. His name was Chardin, Teilhard de Chardin. Wonderful quote. He says, we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. Could not have been said better. We are Jivatmas, spirit beings, having a human experience. As spirit beings, we have 3 constituent component parts. They are part of our nature. They cannot be, it is of what we are made, if you will. Sat, this attribute is it is eternal. We are eternal. There is no beginning to our existence, and there is no end as a spirit being. Chit, we are aware, we are cognizant, we are sentient, always. And Ananda, we are the very form, the very reservoir of Ananda. So these 3 attributes cannot be separated from the soul, from the Jivatma. That is who we are. Now let's go to Ahankar. So we have the Jivatma, the soul. The Jivatma is covered by a body, a covering, a sheath, sometimes called kosha, but I do not want to confuse this description I'm giving today with the 5 koshas, because it's slightly different. So take the 5 koshas, put it aside for now. We're dealing with the Sankhya description of our existence in this world. Jivatma, then there's a subtle body of mind, intelligence, manas, buddhi, and ahankar. Ahankar means I do, and it is key. Ahankar is not only a physical material element. Sankhya philosophy describes it as a material element. Sorry, not physical, a subtle material element. But it is material. It's not spiritual. It's not Satchidananda. Very important to distinguish. Ahankar is not Satchidananda. It is Prakriti. But it is necessary for the spirit being for us to interact and indeed activate Prakriti. This is how the living being, the Jivatma, manifests and interfaces with Prakriti. We do so through Ahankar. But Ahankar, not only is it a material element, it's also a concept, a misconception. It is this idea that I am Prakriti. I am this material body. I am my mind, which is also Prakriti. I am my mind. I am my intelligence. I am this identity that I can tangibly and experientially have connection with. So this misconception is called ahankar, this misidentification with the body-mind. This is ahankar. Let's go to the next important definition and idea. This is attachment, detachment. An attachment is an erroneous belief. It's just a belief. It is a belief that my body, my mind, the world around me is the source of happiness. That's all attachment is. It's a belief. Detachment is the realization that that's incorrect. Detachment is a realization that I am Sat, Chit, and Ananda, and therefore, regardless of what's going on around me, I can experience satisfaction within me. This does not mean I do not experience pain. This is not about if you get your arm cut off, no matter how. I like to use the example of Christ. Right? When Christ was nailed to the cross, he was realized. He lived in full and complete detachment, without a doubt. It is not that Christ did not feel the nails being hammered into his body. It's not about that. It's about a sense of personal identification and meaning that no matter what physical pain I may be going through, my essential nature is not changed. The essential meaning that I get from in my existence does not change, even while I'm experiencing all different types of misery in this world. The example, Krishna gives numerous examples of a lotus leaf floats on water, and as the waves come, it remains unwet. It flows with the waves, it rides the waves, but it doesn't get wet, right? So we experience so many incidences in this world, but we are not bewildered by them in the sense that we do not attach our identity to those experiences. This is attachment detachment. Whether or not a person has $1 billion does not define whether or not they are attached or detached. A billionaire can be completely detached. A billionaire can be completely attached. A traveling sannyasi can be completely detached from the world or very attached. And it's not just to physical things. It can be attachment to honor. It can be attachment to prestige. It can be attachment to company. It can be attachment to spirituality, right? It's just a belief that These things outside of me are the source of my happiness, the source of my self-identification and meaning. Detachment is a realization of the opposite. Ananda, Maya, Vyasat. Now, let's begin to define. I want to start to wrap it up here because if there's any questions, I want to answer any questions, both about going over today and anything you may have from last week. So we'll start to wrap this up. So the Jivatma, the spirit living being, has Ichcha. Ichcha means desire. The Jivatma wants to experience Satchit and Ananda. The Jivatma wants to manifest, wants to exist, wants to resonate this Satchit and Ananda. That is called Ichcha, the desire to experience these things. If we take the Jivatma with their Ichcha, our desire to experience Satchit and Ananda, but we have this misconception, this misidentification with the body through ahankar, then that Ichcha becomes manifest in this world as kama, craving. Kama means desire. Just like Ichcha means desire, kama also means desire. The difference between the two is one is filtered through a misconception, filtered through ahankar, and it manifests as kama. And this is when we get that devolution of our existence, right? We have this contemplation, we have an idea, a misconception that I am my body, I am my material, this material reality, this prakriti is who I am. There's no concept, there's no realization of our spiritual nature. There's no Atma Gyan. It doesn't mean that our material reality is false. No, that's a different philosophy. That's not the Bhagavad Gita philosophy. Our physical reality is real. It is not false. Our identification with it is the problem, not its existence. So we have this misconception and we identify with our body, with prakriti, and we ascribe our identity to prakriti. This misconception leads to attachments because we want to experience, right? We have Ichcha, we're Jivatma, we have Ichcha, the desire to experience Satchidananda, happiness. But because it is perverted, it is covered, it is being manifest through ahankar, it then becomes kama, craving. Now, I had to stop here in this particular module because next week we're going to unpack kama. Why kama is, what makes kama so different from Ichcha. But once we have this misconception, attachments, this misconception brought about by ahankar, these attachments form, and then Ichcha becomes manifest as kama, craving. Then we know from craving, from kama, Krishna talks about this early on in the second chapter. Dhyayato vishayam pumsa sanghas teshu pajayate sangat sanjayate kama, kama krodho vijayate. Krodho bhavati sammoha, sammoha smriti vibhrama, smriti bhramshat buddhi nasha pranashyati. So Krishna talks about this devolution. First, we contemplate, we have this misconception. I am the body, I am not spirit. We have no realization of our spiritual nature. We develop attachments, sanghat. From attachment comes kama. From karma comes anger. From anger, complete delusion. From delusion, bewilderment of memory. When memory is bewildered, intelligence is lost. And when intelligence is lost, we engage in all kinds of nefarious, harmful activities, harm ourselves and others around us. In other words, the Arisha Dvargas. So we'll stop there. Next week, we're going to pick apart kama even more and explore more of what Krishna describes how to exist, because karma is necessary, right? Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. These four things are our reality. We cannot, Krishna doesn't say negate the fact that we have this material reality. No, we have to use this material reality for our progress towards ultimate freedom, moksha. And karma has a role to play. We have to know how to do that, and that's what we're going to explore in the next 3 verses. We'll stop here, but I just want to add one quick point. I may have mentioned it, I believe I mentioned it in the video to this module, how the Bhagavad Gita, all 700 verses, can be divided into dharma, artha, kama, moksha. And the vast majority of the Bhagavad Gita verses are dharma shastra, because Krishna is trying to make sure Arjuna, and by extension ourselves, we understand what we're dealing with. What is jivatma, what is itcha, what is this, what is that. He brings all what is dharma, this type of dharma, that types of the dharma. He has to make sure, we have to know what all the pieces of the puzzle are. That's why there is so much dharma shastra in the Bhagavad Gita. About 50% of it is dharma shastra. And then the remainder, almost all the rest of it, 40%, is moksha shastra. He touches on artha shastras, what you need to do, what you need to know. Right? He talks about how you have to have engage in our swadharma. We have to have a livelihood. He talks about karma. It's an important part of our reality. But then once those are settled, Krishna spends the remaining of Bhagavad Gita talking about moksha, freedom. So the other 40% of the Bhagavad Gita are moksha shastras. And at the end of this first half of the course, these first 10 weeks, you'll have a clear understanding of dharma, artha, kama, moksha, and you'll be able to take that and overlay it over any chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, and you'll see what Krishna is talking about. This is dharma, this is kama, this is artha, this is moksha, and then how it interrelates with each other. Once we're able to do that, once a person is able to do that, you're able to navigate and create a sadhana for yourself that enables us to begin to move towards moksha. So I'll end there. Are there any questions? Very well. So I'll end I have not, just for kind of announcement, I have not yet graded the tests from last week. I will do so between today and tomorrow and return them to you. And I have not finished creating the test for this week. I'll also have that completed by today or tomorrow. So you'll have it and you can begin working on it. Remember to read through all the questions of the test first before you even begin to try to answer them. Read through all the questions of the test, then go watch the videos, look at the PDFs, send me any questions you may have, then work on the test on Wednesday, Thursday, or something. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunatu Sahaviryam Kuruvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Oh, happy Janmashtami yesterday, those of you who were able to celebrate it. Have a wonderful weekend. Hari Hari.